I'm Jürgen and we make this time a pizza in Teglia. Pizza in Teglia is a pizza which is made on a normal baking tray, and this is really very popular in Rome. So this is really a Roman version of pizza in Teglia, and this is sold on each corner of each pizzeria because they sell it as street food, and it's really very common there. The pizza in Teglia is very handy if you have maybe some guests at home. So because if you make one baking tray full of pizza, it's enough for not only one person. It's maybe enough for 2 or 3, and then you can have 2 or 3 these versions of pizza. The pizza on a baking tray also differs a little bit from a Neapolitan pizza, not only in the shape, which is clear, but also we have some olive oil in the pizza in Teglia, and we have a higher hydration. So normally in a pizza in Teglia we can have hydrations of around 80%. But this time I decided to make only 70% because this recipe should be doable for everyone. So 70% is more easy to handle than 80% of hydration. In Italy they have really special kinds of flour, especially for pizza in Teglia or even for focaccia. But you also could use each other flour type 00, which has around 12% of protein. I wouldn't choose for this time flour which is too strong, so with a too high baking strength, because you will have a leavening time of 24 hours. And if the flour is too strong, it could be that after these 24 hours the dough is still chewy and it's not that nice to eat. And now I would say we start directly with the dough. Here we have directly all our ingredients we need for our pizza in Teglia. I have here 400 grams of wheat flour. This is one which is really especially for pizza in a baking tray or for focaccia. I have here 280 grams of very cold water, which comes directly out of the fridge. It has around 4 degrees Celsius, and this leads then to a hydration of 70%. I have here 10 grams of fine sea salt, 1.3 grams of dry yeast. If you want to use fresh yeast, then use 4 grams. And I have here 10 grams of olive oil. Please don't wonder that the bowl is not clean. I made already some dough, and that's the reason why it looks like it looks. The first we add is our water. The next, directly the whole flour. And then we add the yeast to the flour. And then we start mixing for 5 minutes. And now after the first 5 minutes of mixing, I add the salt. And now we continue mixing for additional 5 minutes. And now after the second 5 minutes, it's time for our olive oil. And now we continue kneading until the window test works. It will be in some around 20 minutes. After almost 20 minutes kneading, I think the dough is ready. Now I make the window test. To make the window test, I covered my hands with water. Then I take out a piece of dough. I form a ball and then I stretch it. And if it's possible to stretch it like here, that it's very thin, then the dough is ready kneaded and can be taken out from the bowl onto the counter. If the dough is now on the counter, we make a nice dough ball. Therefore, it's the easiest to cover the hands a little bit with olive oil, and then we do this stretch and fold, which means we lift the dough, we stretch it and we fold it over, and we do this several times. And so we shape a nice dough ball. If your dough is very sticky, don't wonder. We have a hydration of 70%, so it's quite normal. For making this nice dough ball, we turn the ball and then we pull it. We don't roll it, we pull it until we have here a nice and strong surface, and you see it's not sticking anymore. And then we put the dough ball into a dough ball box where it can rest. And now it's very important to close the lid and protect our dough from drying out. Now I let it rest at room temperature for around 2 hours, and then for in some around 24 hours into the fridge, or for around 20 hours into the fridge, and 5 hours before baking I remove the dough out of the fridge so that it can rest for 5 hours at room temperature. The 24 hours of leavening are over. 5 hours ago, or in the meanwhile 6 hours ago, I took the dough out of the fridge, and it has now a fantastic and a beautiful volume. The first we have now to do, I preheated the oven already with upper and the lower heat for to 280 degrees Celsius. And I have here a normal baking tray, and this baking tray has the size of 30 by 40 centimeters. The first we have now to do is we cover the baking tray a little bit with olive oil. When this is done, we put it to the side and we take our dough, and you can see it's fantastic how fantastic this dough looks like. It has almost the size of the baking tray. So now I take some semolina and put it on top of the dough, and all the air which is right now inside of the dough should stay inside of the dough, so we are here also gentle to the dough. Here we take as well a spatula and we release it everywhere where it sticks, and we release a bit the bottom as well, and then we put it onto the counter. When the dough is on the counter, we are very gentle and we stretch it a little bit into the size of the baking tray. And then we lift it over. Then on the baking tray, we bring the dough to the final shape of the baking tray. If the dough sticks on top, which it does, we can add some semolina, because it doesn't matter, this tastes good and this brings a bit more crunch. And stretching the dough should be really very easy because of the high hydration we have. And now we add some tomato sauce. The tomato sauce I use here now is a can of San Marzano tomatoes. I tiered them by hand, and then I added only 4 grams of fine sea salt. If you want to know a bit more about the tomatoes and what you should consider with the tomatoes, the link to the video which I made is in the video description. And to protect our toppings from burning, it's now important to pre-bake the base of the pizza. We put it into the preheated oven to the lowest rail, and we bake it for around 8 minutes. After 8 minutes, I took the pizza now out of the oven, and now it's time for the rest of the toppings. At first I start, as always, with fresh grated Parmesan cheese. As next I add the cheese. In my case it's fior di latte. If you want some different cheese, then use this cheese you like and you prefer. And here of course you have the fantastic option to add all those toppings whatever you want, and you can do half or a quarter and a different quarter. It's really great. I have here some salami with truffles. And I have here some mushrooms, but I put the mushrooms only on one half of the pizza because there is someone from my guest who doesn't want mushrooms, and that's the reason why I'm flexible and I put the mushrooms only here on this half. Then I add some olive oil. And then the pizza goes back into the oven until the crust has a beautiful color and the cheese is perfectly melted. But now not on the lowest rail, but on the highest. And here is now the pizza out of the oven. You can see the crust is nice colored. Can you hear this? It's absolutely crispy. And now let's have a look how it looks like. And I hope you can see it. It's absolutely great. The crust is full of air. It's crispy outside. And now I will taste the center. It tastes really fantastic, and the base cracks if I bite into it because the base is really crispy as well. This is due to the long baking time. And now I taste the crust. Yeah, and it's exactly as I said. The crust is really crispy. Inside it's soft. It tastes fantastic. A good alternative to a Neapolitan pizza. I have now guests in the living room, so I will bring this pizza now to my guests. And this is the fantastic thing here. You can make different portions, you can add the toppings whatever you want, and it's a perfect pizza for serving for guests. This is now the last video I make this year in 2023. I have to say a big thank you to everybody of you who is watching my videos, who already subscribed my channel. I'm really happy and I'm surprised how the channel grows. It's fantastic and I love it. And I have lots of fun in creating those videos, and I hope I'm able to bring this fun over and to bring this enthusiasm I have for pizza also to you guys. Yeah, and I really have to say, I wish you a fantastic Happy New Year, and I hope we see us in the next year as well. If you like my channel, then please subscribe the channel, because then we definitely see us in the next year. Thank you very much. Ciao.